Am I the asshole for telling my mom if she wants to plan a wedding to get remarried? First post on November 10, 2022. I, 32-year-old female, recently started planning my wedding with my fiancé, 31-year-old female, and my mom immediately jumped to help us plan. I thought at first it'd be okay, but she will call vendors and venues she likes, will give them my information so they call me about a scheduled time, and my mom swoops in to say it'd be rude not to go since they invited you. It was obvious it was her after the third time when she wouldn't stop giggling and admitted to calling beforehand and making appointments. I wouldn't take issue with this, but my mom and I have wildly different tastes. Every time me or my fiancé tell her something like how want to have this color for the tablecloths or these flowers, she'll tell us that they look bad and will give us her own plan. She recently showed us a massive binder of different ideas she wants us to look through. It's exhausting. At every step she will insist on looking at her ideas, and when we reject them she'll throw a fit and tell me I don't love her because I ignore all her wishes. I also want to add I think she's had it in her head since I was a kid she'd plan my wedding. Even before I came out and dated men she'd comment on how excited she was for the wedding. And when I told her my fiancé proposed she immediately started berating me about when we'd have the wedding so she could help us plan it. Part of it is that when she married my dad it was a small courthouse affair because she was pregnant with me at the time and never got a proper wedding. My dad also died 17 years ago and she's dates sporadically but never for longer than a few months. The last time me and my fiancé went to see a venue she tagged along and made all these comments on how gross everything was, pointing out all the tiny things wrong with it all. The person showing us was getting annoyed. My fiancé was getting annoyed and so was I. She eventually said, "If this were my wedding I'd never even consider this dump." Despite it being absolutely beautiful and within the budget, I snapped and told her that if she wanted to plan a wedding so badly she should get remarried. It was cruel, but I was so tired of her trying to have her perfect wedding through me. My fiancé thinks I'm not at fault, but the rest of my family doesn't. Am I the asshole? Edit. Adding answers to a couple common questions. Is she paying for the wedding? No, she's not paying a penny. Why don't you set boundaries with her? We have. She doesn't listen and will cry and guilt me and my fiancé until we go along with her or look at what she's picked out for us. Update on November 27, 2022. Hello everyone, I took all of the advice to heart and me and my fiancé had a sit down and looked at the comments together and we agreed we both need to grow spines. Our wedding planner is truly a saint and had no problems setting up passwords with vendors like some people suggested, and it was a great suggestion, so thank you. We then invited my mom to dinner and told her that she has to stop trying to help us with the wedding. It started off bad as she brought her binder and had her own wedding dress in her car. Her dress is in very bad condition, would not fit either me or my fiancé, and is quite frankly hideous. I would never say that to her face, though I've told her every time she's asked that I want to pick out my own dress and she should keep hers for if she wants to get remarried. She assumed that we had invited her to apologize and let her plan the wedding however she wanted. How she jumped to that conclusion I have no idea. We lied about not wanting her to get overly stressed in the hope she'd take it better than telling her that she's been causing problems and that she hasn't been helpful. She didn't take it well and started crying and saying all she ever wanted was for me to have the perfect wedding, and she'd already given up getting the perfect son-in-law and grandchildren, so at the least we could let her plan the wedding. It stunned us both as she has never said a bad word about me liking women, not when I came out, not when I got my first girlfriend, not when me and my fiancé got engaged. That put me over the edge and I told her that she wasn't going to plan anything. She was a guest and nothing more, and I would be cutting her speech if she was going to behave like a child. She had a full-on tantrum, so me and my fiancé paid and left her to cry and scream in the restaurant. That was all fine and dandy until our florist called to tell us my mom had called to try and get the flower arrangements changed behind our back. I called her and she tried to lie until she realized she was backed into a corner and admitted to doing it because she knew what was best and was trying to help. Needless to say that I've now uninvited her from the wedding with the full support of my fiancé and my soon-to-be mother and father-in-law. Update: my mom tried to crash my wedding and now guilt-tripping me. February 10th, 2023. I'm so done, just so done with her. 3 months of hell, but finally me and my wife are happily married. Not once did my mom think of me and what I wanted. She wouldn't stop trying to call vendors, get things changed, and try to guess the passwords. At one point we changed the passwords every week to random things so that she couldn't guess them. We didn't post the date anywhere and had on the invitations that the guests couldn't share the date and location, yet somehow she got both. We even told her that the stress was too much and we were going to wait until the summer or later to get married, and she screamed at us, telling us that we were horrible and canceling it to spite her. We blocked her phone number, reduced the wedding budget significantly so we could hire good security. Thank fucking God we did, and gave them pictures of her because somehow she found out the date, time, and location and came in her motherfucking wedding dress and demanded to be let in because it was her wedding. I am beyond done. I'm typing this as me and my wife are waiting to get on our plane to go home after an incredible honeymoon. We even looked at job openings and apartments that are at least 6 hours away from where we currently live. Because my loving mother has taken to sending us letters calling me a horrible daughter and sending packages that are piles of pictures from when I was a kid and I loved her unconditionally, with notes asking why I don't love her anymore and why I banned her from her wedding. How excited she was for it. How it was her right as my mom to go. She tried to guilt me. She cursed me out and thought I'd give up, let her do whatever she wants and run my life for me, and act as if she's not been a pain in my ass since I told her that me and my wife were beginning to plan the wedding. My best friend who was house sitting got the honor of opening them all and sending us the contents. She hand-delivered the first one the day after the wedding while we were on the plane. I know because the Ring doorbell caught it, and all of the other ones she delivered as well as the ones the mailman delivered. I'm fuming, I'm pissed, and I was to scream because what the fuck? She tried to ruin my wedding. My own mother tried to ruin my wedding and is trying to make me feel bad. She tried to plan my wedding for me, threw a tantrum when I asked her not to, tried to sabotage it, and then crashed it. But sure, I'm the problem here. Edit. Adding some context now I've calmed down. My mom had a courthouse wedding, which is why she wanted to plan mine, and after my dad died she hasn't found someone new to settle down with and have the wedding of her dreams. When me and my wife tried to set boundaries and put a stop to her calling vendors to change things and have us go see venues she wanted under the guise of us being invited when she'd made an appointment. When we tried to ask her to stop because we didn't want her to stress out, a lie to try and negate her reaction to being asked to stop, she threw a fit and let her true feelings be known about me marrying a woman, which boiled down to she was making a massive sacrifice not getting a son-in-law and grandchildren. I also can't have kids. It would be very difficult to at the least, and adopting or my wife carrying the child wouldn't count, because they wouldn't be her grandchildren biologically. I have 2 other posts where there's all of this in more detail if anyone wants to know more. Last of all, thank you to everyone saying congratulations. Me and my wife have been looking at comments and will be finding the wedding mole as well as working on evidence to get a restraining order and moving far away. Update. My cousin was the wedding mole and I'm disgusted. April 30th, 2023. Context. I got married a few months ago. While planning the wedding, my mom tried to steamroll over me and my wife's decisions and basically have her own wedding because she married my dead dad in a courthouse. We tried to tell her gently she couldn't. She went on a homophobic rant tantrum in the middle of the restaurant we'd met at, tried to crash my wedding in her wedding dress, and then tried to guilt me and my wife into feeling bad for not letting her in. So, I found out who told my mom where and when the wedding was. There was no grand plan. We'd wanted to do that after getting a little more settled into our new lives. I went back recently for work and invited one of my cousins out to lunch, picking somewhere my mom wouldn't go to so that there'd be no accidental run-ins. Me and this cousin are really close. We're similar in age and she was one of the bridesmaids. She's like a sister to me. She's also the most timid, shy, non-confrontational person ever. Big red flag, I know. So we went out to lunch and who showed up? My mother. She showed up and was all like, "Oh hi, I didn't know you were in town. Why didn't you call me? Lovely day we're having. How are you? Have you two started talking about kids yet?" She was being civil. I wish she'd screamed and cried so I could have looked like the same one. My cousin wouldn't look at me. Not only did she tell my mom that we would be going out to lunch, but she told my mom about the wedding. She tells me that her mom, my aunt, and my mom pressured her into it, since they knew she'd know if the wedding was actually pushed back. And she told them despite knowing how crazy my mom is and how much crazier she's become. I'm not even angry. I just feel betrayed and so happy that me and my wife didn't tell anyone where we were moving so my mom couldn't show up at our door. I've had to cut off my cousin, the girl I saw as my sister, because she couldn't keep her fucking mouth shut despite knowing. And I can't reiterate this enough, every detail about how my mom was when she was helping us plan the wedding. I'm cutting contact with my entire family. It's not worth it. If you let in a little crazy, they'll let in the rest of the crazy. Relevant comments. Your mom knew your cousin was weak and walked all over her. Sounds like a bully, plus the way she tries to bully you. Good thing you aren't letting her walk all over you too. I would cut her off too. Reply. Before all this started, my mom and her mom would walk over us both. Coming to Reddit helped me realize that my boundaries weren't boundaries and my mom was continuing to walk over me. I managed to grow a spine. She's not. I'm hoping going NC with her like I am with the rest of my family will make her realize she needs to stick up for herself. Either your mom and her mom literally bullied the shit out of her, or she did it because she genuinely felt sorry for your mom. Either way, not cool. I get the pressure, but having had some crazy family run-ins myself, I would never ever reveal info I didn't have to. The fact is, they didn't put the thumb screws on her. She could have chosen to be stronger and not allowed your mom to go nuts in a bridal gown. Reply. My mom and her mom bullied it out of her pretty easily too, from what she told me. She basically crumples like a tissue with the slightest bit of pressure. She's a massive people pleaser. She's always been that way. Even when we were kids, if we did something we weren't supposed to, she'd always confess to the crime as soon as my aunt mentioned grounding her. And just like when we were kids, she immediately confessed to everything. That's so irritating for you, and probably her as well. No one wants two people berating you until you give in. It's very unfortunate, but you know that she can't be trusted with any information now. Reply. It's insanely irritating, but I assumed that because she knew everything and how many issues my mom was causing, she'd keep her mouth shut for once. I'm not all that surprised she did. In hindsight, I should have realized she was a prime suspect and would have been easy to get information from. I guess I had too much faith that she'd grow a backbone.